Breaking overnight from Hong Kong. Protesters flooding the streets and clashing with police. The protesters trying to storm the legislative building. CNN's Nick Robertson is at that building live in Hong Kong. And Nick, protests have been going on for weeks there. This is something we've seen regularly, but today, does it seem to be reaching some kind of breaking point?
Michelle, I'm literally at what's become the front line in this protest at the doors of the legislative LegCo building, the government buildings here. So look at this glass window here. It is shattered all the way down here, broken through. And if we can just bring the camera around, you can see the riot police inside here. The rioters have been spending the last 2 hours to smash through here. This is the main government building, and you might not be able to see it, but dripping off the bottom of the glass there, dripping off the bottom of the glass is the pepper spray that the police have been using when the protesters break through. What they are protesting for is to have that extradition bill repealed by the chief executive here. They're protesting against what they call brutality by the police when millions of them came out on the streets about 2 weeks ago. But today, this place has become the epicenter and the focus of the last couple of hours of that protest. The police inside have been waiting patiently. They haven't rushed out and charged the protesters here, but every time the protesters look like coming through, they move forward, they pepper spray them, pull back, and now this glass, this window is breached. This is an incredible situation. A medieval-style siege being fought out in front of hundreds, probably dozens at least, of live cameras, hundreds of other cameras. There are cameras behind the police. And this is, again, you can't emphasize this too much. This is a government building, would be the equivalent in Washington, of course, of the White House. This protest here, though, only part of a much bigger protest, a peaceful protest that is going through the streets of Hong Kong. Hundreds of thousands of people commemorating the day 22 years ago when the British government handed sovereignty back to Hong Kong. So this is a day where there's protests every year, but there has never been a day like this where the protests have been so violent and protesters have come so close to getting inside the government buildings.
With these 20 steps, President Donald Trump made history at the DMZ, becoming the first sitting U.S. president to cross the military demarcation line into North Korea. The groundbreaking moment began with a tweet the day before. If Chairman Kim of North Korea sees this, I would meet him at the border, DMZ, just to shake his hand and say hello. Sources say that tweet and Pyongyang's speedy response set the wheels in motion for a whirlwind day of impromptu diplomacy with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Some say the meeting here was pre-planned through the letter you sent me, he said, but to me, it was a surprise. U.S. and North Korean officials scrambled to overcome logistical and security hurdles, creating surreal moments, Kim's bodyguards and the Secret Service together at the DMZ. And chaotic moments. White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham left bruised in what a source called an all-out brawl with North Korean officials and the press. The day's biggest surprise, Kim crossing into South Korea and meeting privately with Trump for nearly an hour, far more than the 2-minute handshake the president previewed earlier. When talks ended, the two announced a plan to revive stalled nuclear diplomacy.
We've agreed that we're each going to designate a team, and the team will try and work out some details.
Sources told CNN much of Kim's negotiating team was punished after February's talks in Hanoi fell apart. In the 4 months since, North Korea has resumed bellicose rhetoric and short-range ballistic missile tests. It's unclear if this historic moment at the DMZ will be enough to smooth over vastly different views on denuclearization, a word President Trump never said once on Sunday. Trump even invited Kim to the White House, despite the fact North Korea still has all its nuclear weapons. As President Trump boarded Air Force One, the day ended as it began, with a tweet. Stood on the soil of North Korea, an important statement for all, and a great honor. Will Ripley, CNN, Seoul.